Look at us, social distancing.
Back again, and look who we have back.
Yeah, super happy to be back. So just wanted to welcome you to, we just had to I had to figure this out, episode 19. Unfortunately, I've missed a few, but I have been able to watch my wonderful colleagues and our beautiful kids hold it down while we're all doing vacation. So just wanted to say thank you for coming, and I'm really happy to be back. Today is Friday, July 31st, so we are ending a new month in 2020. And today we will be talking about article number 39. You have the right to get help if you've been abused, neglected, or treated badly. So we'll get more into that right a little bit later. As you can see, Cheryl will be talking a little bit about medicine. While we're filming, I am going to help her to...
We're cleaning it.
We're cleaning the medicine.
Cleaning it, getting it ready to be prepared for drying.
Yes. So
and then we'll be cleaning the floor afterwards.
I wish you had smell-o-vision. You would smell how beautifully it smells like outdoors. I was on holidays for 3 weeks and spent the entire time on the sand, in the water, in the bush, literally. So I had a really great time. Missed my guys here, my people here, and all my kids. So with that said, I'm going to pass it over to Cheryl because she has been rocking it with John for the last few weeks. So.
Good morning. Welcome to episode 19. My name is Cheryl Alexander. I'm the knowledge keeper here at Manitoba Advocate for Children and Youth. So I'd like to say miigwech for the day. I like to start the day off with just giving thanks for just today. The sun came up. I was ready. I went to a sweat last night with my entire family, and it was wonderful. We got to spend time giving thanks and asking for those prayers and receiving a lot of help. So I had a very good sleep. I feel probably I'd say 95%. And I haven't felt 95% in a long time.
Well, you look 120%.
Well, thank you. So I'm going to start off by saying that the land acknowledgement goes like this. The Manitoba Advocate for Children and Youth wish to acknowledge that we are located on the original lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and the beautiful homeland of the MACY Nation. I said that without my glasses on today, folks. I wasn't wearing the broken old Dollarama glasses today, so I'm squinting, but I'm able to read.
And my name is John. I'm back again this week. I'm just going to, as every week, mention that if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments, and we will get to them as best we can, as soon as we can. If you want to be entered to win for some nice MACY swag, leave your information in the comment section as well. We have Wavy Baby. I was joking that I still have my pen for the last few weeks because...
I was here on Monday and John was not, and his pen was sitting really perfectly just right beside his keyboard, and I was certainly tempted, but I figured that would not be a fun joke after 3 weeks away. So John, your pen has been saved.
And we also have these Got Rights t-shirts as well. So
I didn't wear my own. Went to the sweat yesterday.
Oh my goodness.
You know what? When you wear them in the community, people ask, and they're conversation starters. So I like to tell them where I work and what the point of the shirt is. Like, here are our voices, Got Rights. So a lot of our swag is very, very good at starting conversations about what do you do, you know, and talking about amplifying the rights of children and youth across Manitoba.
And then I guess the other thing is we will talk about this online survey. It's coming to a close, so our listening tour that we had started and had to put a halt due to COVID, we have the online survey, which I'll talk about a little bit later. It's coming to an end, so we really, really want to get some more youth voice and have some more submissions for that. So again, we'll talk about that a little bit later. So I will pass it back to Cheryl.
So as you can see, me and Kathy here in the background and John are cleaning medicine. So we have picked the medicine, now we're getting ready to store and to grind up for whatever purposes. So today's medicine is Cedar, Gijik, and we're able to use this in various ways. So last couple of weeks I've been talking about getting out there, picking medicines, and being able to, on the hottest, longest days of summer, we are already thinking about winter. We're thinking about how we're going to prepare. And that's one of the topics I wanted to talk a little bit about with the youth. The youth are now getting to be of an age now where they can do a little bit of multitasking in terms of starting to think. It's already the beginning of August after next week. We should be looking at what kind of programs they're going to be doing in the fall. What are they doing in the fall? Are they going to programming? Are they going back to school? What does that look like? So now is the time to also be looking at places to stay. Looking for, because summer's fun. You can roam around and do whatever you want and be a little bit more free and carefree, like going back to the reserve, going on traveling around. But you also need to start thinking about what does getting back to everyday living look like. I'm not saying COVID living, I'm saying everyday living. So getting ready to start making a few plans around the future in terms of being able to secure safe housing, programming or schooling, jobs, things are starting to, and this time of the year is everybody's already thinking about back to school. So we're just waiting for those announcements to come out as to how it will play out here in the province, but also being able to look towards just pre-planning and organizing your thoughts, because my mom always used to say, if you plan, then it's not a crisis or an emergency. You've already got it on your schedule. You don't have to do everything all at once, but start early enough that you can ease yourself into it.
I remember being told that if you don't create a plan, then you're planning to fail.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
just thinking ahead, I like that.
Yeah.
Maybe that should be our next T-shirt.
Could be. So you have the right to get help if you've been abused, neglected, or treated badly. And those things take a little bit of time. It's a cycle. You have to plan to get help, to understand what has gone on. So in terms of being able to receive that help, sometimes you have to be mentally ready, physically ready to be able to change a situation or
One of the things I kind of want to point out when it comes to youth rights and what's coming to mind while Cheryl's talking, you have the right to get help if you've been abused, neglected, or treated badly. What does that look like? Oftentimes, unfortunately, for some young people across Manitoba, they don't understand what that means, because perhaps they have been living in a situation for an extended period of time where they don't realize that that's not the proper way to be treated. So we can look at abuse as a larger picture. So we've got different types of abuse: physical, emotional, financial. So when we look at the term abuse, it can really apply to many different things. Neglect. People immediately think, well, it's not being cared for, it's not being provided with your basic necessities. Most children in Manitoba, I will say, are provided with their basic necessities, which would be water and food and a bed to sleep in, but that is not enough. So if you're just being provided with the very basic necessities to sustain your life, as it were, then I would say that other pieces of your being are being neglected. So let's talk about spirit. We are all born with spirit, and our spirit is with us. With neglect or abuse or being treated badly, it really breaks your spirit. And oftentimes we don't think that a sore or broken spirit or being treated badly is against our right, but it is, because again, basic necessities are your right, but that's not just it. That's the very minimum. You need to be provided with all the tools and resources so that you can live and thrive, which is another one of our rights. I was able to take 3 weeks of holidays, and like I said, I wasn't kidding when I said I was in the bush, on the beach, in the water, but I did get to spend some time with my family. And when I say my family, I talk about my extended family. Young people that are, not my biological children, but that are part of our community, who have really, gone through COVID, gone through loss, gone through a lot of things in the last month. So we were able to, while I was away and not at work, I still did get to spend my time with some really fantastic young people. So when we were able to have those discussions about the work that I do, it was kind of neat because it was outside of the scope of the usual young people I work with, but we had good conversations. And so when you look at the idea of being neglected or treated badly, think big, because you don't just deserve the basic things in life. You deserve all of the adults around you to make sure that you have everything you need to live and thrive. You know, one of the things that kind of spoke to me, and it's just coming back from a really long time ago, was a young person said to me, "You need to smile at least 10 times a day." And I said, "Why?" And they said, "Because if you smile," and this was from a young person, "if you smile, your body immediately feels better," which I thought was a really neat little lesson from a 10-year-old. So I'm going to pass that on and say, smile at least 10 times a day. But make sure you know, that you have reasons to smile too. So Article 39 really is a touchy one because abuse is a tough subject to talk about. But again, think of it outside of just, you know, the physical, right? So this particular right speaks to all of us because as adults, our responsibility is to protect you from being abused, being neglected, or being treated badly. Our youth ambassador team as a peer group, they understand that their responsibilities are also to identify and do that peer mentorship. So again, just make sure that you're really looking at your inner self and your spirit, and if you're not feeling like this right is being met for you, 1-800-263-7146, give us a call. Again, I can't stress enough, find some supports in your life, whether those be adult supports, youth supports, because again, we should never have to do anything alone. So even looking at this right and having this conversation, we should be able to have it openly with whomever we feel comfortable with.
So these rights are for anybody that's maybe just watching this is their first episode, the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, and you'll hear us say UNCRC over and over. So if you have a few seconds, go in the comments in the video description section. Anything we talk about today, any important links, I will include them in the video description. So one of the links that I'm always including is a copy of this poster you see on the screen that can be found on the Manitoba Advocate website. And this has all 42 rights detailed as to what these rights are, and they're all equally important. So you'll hear us talk about them, and it's, again, one of the rights is the right to know your rights. You know, so the fact that knowing number 39, you have the right to get help if you've been abused, neglected, or treated badly, just knowing that is actually a right. So it's very important that we talk about these things with youth care providers, things like that, because and you know what, we found this out a lot during the listening tour, was a lot of youth we would ask, they knew very little about what children's rights even were. And I can tell you that Canada has ratified this and signed on to the UNCRC, which means it's legal here, it's law, and these rights are not optional. So it's, again, very important that you know about these things, and then also be able to think about them and what these things mean. You have the right to get help if you've been abused, neglected, or treated badly, and what that means to each youth that hears that. We do have a video that we would like to show, created by our Youth Ambassador Advisory Squad, our YAAS team. Tiara and Brooklyn, shout out to you guys who created this video. It's very special, and they do speak to this right. Now, of course, it's going to be to what they view the right to be. And it's, I guess, very important to realize that, again, these rights will look a bit differently to everybody. So when you see this video, start understanding or thinking about how that right applies to you, and what it applies to in your life, and what you feel it means to you.
You have the right to get help if you've been abused, neglected, or treated badly. Many children and youth are in desperate need of support and protection. Youth who are neglected or not provided with emotional support are at high risk to become victims of exploitation and addictions. Abusers should be held accountable for their actions. Our justice system needs to work differently for children and youth who have disclosed abuse. Children involved in the justice system who have suffered at the hands of offenders should be provided with extra supports. Sentences should reflect the harms done to our children and youth. Our justice system needs to recognize how difficult it can be to relive abuse over and over through the investigations and court process. Youth have a responsibility to live their best life respectfully and without harm. Adults have the responsibility to create the space for us to do so.
So there we go. That's
So-
the right.
Shout out to our two beautiful youth ambassadors, Brooklyn and Tiara, for creating that video. So I've always, again, say that's the very, very favorite part of this filming for me, is just watching the creation of our kids. One of the things that I think when we talk about that right, speaking to that right, knowing your rights, again, part of our youth ambassadors' real goals and wants are that they're able to do peer-to-peer education. John and I and Cheryl, we love doing this, but we always say we want the kids up here. So
Yeah, that's right.
and the beauty of these videos is that when our kids created them, they chose their rights and they wanted to do videos that really spoke to them and their, I guess, their histories and their life paths. So as you can see, just the beauty of where they've come from since then. So one of our, and again, shout out to Tiara and to Brooklyn, but a special shout out to Tiara. She has reached the age of majority and is running through life and trying to figure things out. So understanding that regardless of whether or not that right wasn't met for these young people as children, their ultimate goal is to make sure that these rights are met for every child after them. So again, really special thank you to Brooklyn and Tiara. And I also wanted to just say, when we talk about getting help or speaking to someone about, whether or not this right is being met, you can call our office. We have advocacy, but there's also a ton of resources out there for young people who may be struggling. There is the clinic, the Kids Helpline. John usually puts up the links later. So keeping in mind that there are a lot of options in which you can have discussions with people around this. It is an uncomfortable subject. I know how difficult it is to talk about abuse and neglect. We work in a system that's part of the work that we do. So we want to make sure that as uncomfortable as these conversations are, that we're having them and that that there are people, there are resources, and there are services to make sure that your rights are met.
Mm-hmm.
And what neglect, I was thinking of something Cheryl was talking about was, it doesn't, neglect can look very different to different people, and it doesn't have to be meaningful neglect. So it could be neglect by a way of somebody not meaning to be neglected. So I'm thinking of COVID right now and all of the youth that are missing the opportunities for powwow and all these cultural opportunities that happen in the summer that for Indigenous communities that aren't happening right now. There's this cultural neglect that a lot of youth might be facing right now, and it's not malicious, and it doesn't mean it was happening on purpose, but these are things that we need to think about as adults and even as youth. If we're not getting these needs met and they're being neglected, how can we plan, like you're saying, for getting this back into your lives? Because there is so much, as you know, that's not happening right now.
Yeah, I think when we're talking about terms of reorganizing and planning for the future, we just kind of have to be mindful of that. We have to just kind of reshift in ways that works for us based on what's going on in the greater large community, because some things are out of our control, some things can be controlled. So just on a daily, looking at what does our day look like, getting up in the morning, what's our routine like, planning for if it starts small. These weeks for me have gone by so fast. I feel like I'm so old now because I'm like, oh my God, summer. We were just waiting for summer. Now it's half gone. We're going into August. So, when the time goes so fast, summer goes by so fast. But there's so much to do, and people are doing things, So one of the things I wanted to do today was give a huge shout out to all the youth that we do deal with at youth at the YAAS level. Because looking back to day one and being able to talk about, do you have the right to get help if you've been abused, neglected, or treated badly, just shows the growth that we have in being able to have our kids tell their story, to produce videos, to show up and help advocate and amplify the voice of the youth. our goal is being met on a daily basis by having these kids come out. We're always looking for, we've had, how many, John was so excited about a walk-in that we had. Now we've had more. So we are excited to have our program actually doing what it was meant to do and providing that knowledge about how to amplify children's rights. That's what we're doing.
And that's a good segue for what's on the screen, getting involved. It went out on our social media, and we actually did get a couple responses, which I was excited for. If you are a youth that's interested in having your voice heard and actually actively involved, we have our youth ambassadors. We have city members, we have support members, so we have ways in which youth can be a part of us and our group in different ways. So if you are interested, just fill this out, send it in. If you don't have access, phone the number 1-800-263-7146. Drop into our office like one of the youth did, just came in and said, hey, I heard about the youth engagement. I'd like to speak to somebody about it, because we are looking for those youth voices to come in. It's so exciting when we get somebody coming in and wanting to be a part of our amazing youth that we have already. So
yeah.
So while you can call and do all that, like I said, John's the highlight of his week was really somebody walked into 346 Portage Avenue and asked to participate. So you can phone, but if you want to make John really happy, just walk right into 346. You know what? While we've been talking about this right, because again, I've been on holiday, so I still haven't opened both my eyes.
Rub it in.
Yes, lived in the sand and in the water. But I want to just kind of put it back on some of our young people. When we look at, you have the right to help if you've been abused, neglected, or treated badly. And you know how I always issue a challenge. I would like you to look within yourself and see if you're meeting your right to yourself. We tend to really sometimes not be kind to ourselves. So when we look at that right, being abused, neglected, or treated badly, who is responsible for that? In many cases, we are responsible for our own neglect of our spirit. I don't know why, I think it's the Cedar. I keep thinking spirit. So yeah, adults and everybody around you should make sure that that right is being met, but you also have the responsibility within yourself. Oftentimes, especially with COVID, and again, I've spent a lot of time just kind of pondering on how that impacted our kids, and I think that neglect piece, sometimes we neglect our own inner self. So while we're feeling like there's just so much going on around us, and we really don't know, the first bits of our whole Facebook Live really were around COVID and the idea that we were so isolated. So really that's where that neglect comes in. So while we were unable to be together, how did we take care of ourselves? How did we make sure we weren't neglecting our own needs, our own spirits, and treating ourselves badly? I'm guilty of that too, right? We all are guilty of that. So when you're looking at that right, remember that it starts within your own self, and so always be kind to yourself. Always make sure that you're reading your body. Cheryl talks so much about consistency, exercise. Those are things that really connect to this right, because making sure that you're doing that for your own inner self, that's where it starts. Everybody should treat you well, including yourself.
So another way to get this office excited, not just me, because I seen this happen yesterday.
Come on, we really like when John gets super
we have a nice friendly partnership with Graffiti Gallery here in Winnipeg, and they do some amazing work. So if you are into art, please connect with them, because they do great work with youth. And so the reason I mention that is because we got some artwork submitted to us, and it was amazing just seeing this. And I was running around the office showing everybody. We have it posted up. Like, we really do cherish getting these youth art coming in. So here's an online way to submit on our Manitoba Advocate website, that you can submit some artwork. It could be in the way of spoken word, it could be drawn, it could be anything that you consider artwork. We would love to get it, and once we get it, we will find ways to hopefully use it with your permission, of course, and at the very least we put it up around the office, because it's just, you want to bring a smile to somebody. So if I could, I would show you some of the artwork we just got, and it's quite brilliant when you see just the simplicity of how a youth views these rights and what that means to them visually or in their words. it's really quite special.
I'm sure we have a couple of poets out there, so I mean, look at art as
Even
a,
the spoken word poets, you know. I
Yes.
think of Trevor.
Yeah, Trevor, we're very fortunate to have. I just want to share this photo from last October was our sweat, and hopefully we're going to be having a youth
We're
sweat.
planning. There's
coming
some
up.
planning. I'm
Um,
always planning for cultural activity.
I chose not to use the picture of Kathy eating this time. Between her and Tiara, I tend to take pictures, and for some reason her and Tiara are always eating, but I use this one, and it's just a really nice calming. I find that when you see this picture, calming, sitting around the fire. This is after the sweat took place, and I think it just shows to me what is kind of missing for some of the youth right now, you know, that we need to keep in mind as adults, and maybe as, like you're saying, just self-check. Because if you're missing a lot of this stuff, it will have an effect on you, right?
I just went through all my pictures for 2 cameras and looked through them all. I have a deadly collection of all my staff and coworkers, the YAAS, having these real deadly just stares like.
And if you look really closely, I probably have a piece of bannock
There
or
might
some
be
berries
bannock,
in
yeah.
my cheek.
So we have a lot of fun here. We love spending time with the youth. We love to hear what they have to say. Now that they know that they have some rights, they were being mentored in a way. I just love seeing the growth in each and every one of them, from coming in shy and not sure to being able to just sit down and say, this is what I want to talk about this week, and let's go. And they do. They are holding the
Yeah.
majority of the meeting content now, and that's a real good thing to see.
And using that voice, again, this is, geez, you're good with the segues with this. So the segue here is the listening tour survey, and why is that? That's important because this is something created that we're collecting information on what youth are identifying as youth problems in their communities, the things that are going well in the community, so we can share that information. And I think most importantly, for any of the things not going right or the troubles that youth are facing, we want to hear how youth would solve them. And we're going to be using this information because I think it's who better to solve the problem than youth. The best thing about this as well is if you submit this information on this survey, you get entered to win
Grand prize,
and
mini
mini
iPad.
iPad. So it takes 5 to 10 minutes. Just stop at this link and just check it out because we want to hear from you, and we will be closing down this survey probably within the next week, I believe, is when it'll be over. So please get some of those responses and use that voice that you have, because we really need as many youth to speak up, so we can really, when we compile the information, we can say this is the voice of Manitoba youth. So.
And I think one of the things with the survey, with the listening tour, is we're really going to push it now because it is closing. So I just want to make sure, my favorite part of the survey, and I will use this, when John and I were able to go out, and Cheryl and I went out to different communities, we were able to hold that survey, and our question, the third question to me was really the one that spoke to me. So it was, here is your magic wand. So that third question, what would you do to solve the challenges that many of those youth are facing? So think big. This magic wand holds within it money, program, control. Think really big. So if you were to have a magic wand, how would you make it better for all young people across Manitoba, to ensure that we were meeting every single right, and to ensure that we would never have to have a discussion about the right to help if you've been abused. Unfortunately, that is something that is, someday I hope we don't ever have to understand or look at the idea that you have that right, because it should be ingrained, and it shouldn't, right? It should be in our hearts, not necessarily on a piece of paper. So get on there and do that survey.
So we have our offices in Thompson, here in Winnipeg. They are open, so come on in if you need to. I always say, if you're never sure if you should be calling, then you should call. If you're not sure if this is something that MACY can help with, then just call, because I guarantee you will not be turned away. Our advocates do some great work, and you're never going to be turned away from any of the questions that you might have. The advocates will walk beside you. They will help you to find your voice. And I think that's the biggest thing, is just call.
Yeah, I'm going to sweeten the pot, because you know how John gets so excited about the walk-in. So we're here at 346 Portage Avenue. The next person that walks in and wants to participate in our youth ambassador or with our youth engagement, I will give you John's pen.
So here's some phone numbers. I'll put this up after this episode as well. Like Kathy was mentioning, the Kids Helpline is also available on the internet as well. So if
Yeah.
you have the internet, you can actually go and message with them on there as well. We have clinic phone number, and all these phone numbers are helpful for youth at this time. And again, if you're calling and none of these numbers seem to speak to what you're talking to, our advocates will help find you that assistance and
That
those
resource.
resources. So
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest things. So
That's about all I
don't know.
got. So I just wanted to say thank you for joining us as you do every week. We hope that you'll come back next Friday. In my absence, I still got to watch these two and some of our youth ambassadors just talk about amazing things. So tune in next Friday, and until then, take care of your spirits. Go pick some cedar and think about this right. And it might not apply to you. It might apply to a friend or a family member. But now that you know it, you've got a little
That's
bit more in your
right.
toolbox.
That's
Mhm.
right.
All right, I will just say thank you for joining, and I look forward to speaking with everybody next week.
Yep. Kika waka minawa. We'll see you again. Miigwech.
Bye.